Good evening. It's 7 o'clock in Gardner, Kansas. Call the meeting to order. Please rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, welcome everyone. We are going to start. We have a presentation. End of the year financial report. Matt, I'm going to ask you to come up.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Please note that these are unaudited numbers. Audited numbers will be available in June. So in the general fund, first, please note that the end of year report compares 24 actual performance versus 24 revised budget. Sometimes the revised budget is referred to as 2024 estimate throughout the presentation. But in the general fund, revenues were favorable to estimate by 0.3% or 61,000. Expenditures were favorable to estimate by 1% or 194,000. Ending fund balance decreased from 45% to 39%, but that's because we had a planned spend out of fund balance. Looking a bit more into it, even though revenues were basically right on estimate, there were some variances within the different categories. Building permits came in considerably higher than anticipated. We budget conservatively when it comes to development revenue. The timing can be hard to predict. Overall, it was a strong year for development last year with both residential and commercial growth. Franchise taxes are down primarily due to gas franchise fees. Franchise fees are based on gross revenue. The revenue we collect will be affected by gas prices and weather. In 23, we had about $233,000 in gas tax or gas franchise fees. In 24, it went down to $182,000. Energy price trends and consumption can vary significantly each year. Court fines and fees are also down. This has been affected by some staffing vacancies, but also this line has been trending downward since the pandemic. We had a backlog of cases during the pandemic, and we worked our way through them. Overall revenues in the general fund increased from 23 to 24. Revenues were basically flat between 22 and 2023, but 2024 saw a 4% increase over 23. In general fund expenditures, there was a large unfavorable variance in administration. This was due to unbudgeted purchases of property. There's 2 properties we acquired as a part of our downtown redevelopment plan. These purchases were approved by the City Council. The unfavorable balance in public works is due to placing an early order for a street sweeper. It was scheduled for replacement in 25, but since it had such a long lead time, staff received approval from City Council to order the street sweeper early. Since we ordered the vehicle in 24, we had encumbered the full cost of it in 2024. We will receive the vehicle and make cash payment in 25, though. The savings in the other departments can be primarily attributed to vacancies. The general fund expenditures has a lot of one-time kind of expenditures that make it fluctuate year to year quite a bit. There was a $925,000 transfer to the CIP reserve in 23. That was to help fund playground improvements. We've already completed inclusive playground improvements at Veterans Park. The money will then kind of roll over into the next project, which is the Woodwood Playground placement project. As mentioned earlier, the city ordered a $390,000 street sweeper ahead of schedule that impacted the 24 budget. Then also the 2 properties that we purchased were about a total of $815,000. The transfer to the CIP reserve and acquisition of properties our large one-time expenditures that align with our capital improvement plan and destination downtown plan. Overall, our general fund balance went down from about 8.4 million to about 7.6 million. But we actually ended up about $250,000 higher than where we were planning to end up. In the electric fund, there was an unfavorable variance in revenue due to the Dogwood facility. The unfavorable variance in the expenses is primarily due to moving forward with the gas turbine 2 upgrade project in 2024. This was originally scheduled for 2025. The project was started early because of long lead times. This was approved by the City Council. The expenses, the variance is almost entirely due to that capital project, the gas turbine 2 upgrade. As you can see, it was $3.7 million variance, and the overall variance is 3.6. When you look at the expenditure and revenue kind of trends over time, 2022 was kind of inflated in both revenues and expenses. That's due to the fluctuation in the cost of wholesale power, the differential sales for electric. The cost of power was $15.4 million in 2022. It dropped to $10.8 in 2023, then $11 million in 2024. Please note that the 2024 had a large budget shortfall of about $4 million. This is primarily due to cash funding the temporarily cash funding the gas turbine 2 upgrade. We'll issue bonds next year and reimburse those costs, so you see the fund balance jump back up. The combination of the large variance in Dogwood and then the Unit 2 upgrade is why you see we ended up at $9 million actual fund balance instead of the 14.5. Once we issue debt, we'll be jumping back up 3.7. Then we also have that $3.5 million reserve fund for the electric utility. We're still well above our target fund balance in electric fund, and that fund has a target fund balance of 25%. In the water fund, the revenue had an unfavorable variance due to the new water intake structure shifting from 24 to 25. The budget assumed we'd start this project in 2024 and that we'd issue debt in the amount of $3.5 million to fund the first phase of the project. The favorable variance in expenses is primarily due to the capital project shifting years. Both that and the preliminary design of the new transmission line got pushed back to 25. In 2022, revenues exceeded expenses, but that was due to $1.4 million in bond proceeds coming in related to the Prairie Trace water line improvements. In 23, revenues came in right at expenses. And then in 24, there was a small deficit of about $154,000. Overall, the water fund balance ended 2024 in a pretty strong spot at $3.6 million. However, we do have a lot of projects planned in the 5-year CIP, so the water fund could be running into some challenges soon. In the wastewater fund, you'll notice this one looks a little bit odd. Revenues were unfavorable by 82% or $51 million. This is because we were planning to issue bonds for a lot of sewer CIP. This includes the Kill Creek Water Resource Recovery Facility, the new utilities maintenance building, conveyance system improvements on the south side of I-35, and Woodward Park Relief Sewer. This is just a timing issue. We're planning to issue debt this year for those projects. The favorable expenses are primarily due to delay in capital projects. That includes the Cedar Niles Lift Station, Force Main, Sewer Line B project was delayed due to HUD's environmental review process. That kind of is one project that's being funded by HUD grant that we got, so we have to go through their environmental review process. There are also some smaller CIP projects that got rescheduled to a different year. Those include the East Lift Station improvements, Nike Lift Station, and 167th Street temporary lift station removal. When you look at the trend graph for wastewater, 2022 looks odd also, but that's because we had $3.3 million in bond proceeds come in. And it's also when we had a sale of our right to use asset in Edgerton's Big Bull Creek. That brought in another $4.4 million. So we had kind of a large spike in revenues in 2022. 2023 was more of a normal year. Revenues exceeded expenses by about $280,000. In 2024, expenses greatly exceeded revenues due to capital projects. The big one being the approximately $40 million for the expansion of the treatment plant. The contract was executed last year, so we had to encumber the full cost of the project. We'll be issuing debt this year to pay for it. So we have a negative fund we ended the year with a negative fund balance of $32 million in the wastewater fund. I know it looks odd. If you remember, this actually happened years ago when we did the water treatment plant also. It's just a timing issue. Under Kansas budget law, we can basically have a negative fund balance if we have a financing plan in place. We had council approve the use of GEO bonds for this project. And we have not violated Kansas cash law because while we have the contract, we haven't paid that actual out. So we still have the cash. And the fund balance will be taken care of when we issue debt. A quick look at some of the other funds. CIP reserve has a fund balance of about $1.3 million. This includes some leftover funds for the park playground improvements, then also some funds that were remaining from kind of the preliminary design of 167th Street. Park improvement has about $321,000 in it now. These are from park impact fees. Special Parks and Recreation has about $268,000. This is a third of our alcohol tax goes towards parks. Street improvement has about $3 million, and that's our street excise tax. That has to be used for major road improvements. Then economic development starting to build, it's up to $658,000. That's our transient guest tax. A quick recap is general fund balance is above 30%, which is our target. It's at 39%. Revenues in 24 were higher than 2023. Electric fund balance is at 38%. We'll jump back even higher once we issue debt next year or later this year. Water fund balance is at 43%. Wastewater fund balance is in an amazing negative 62% right now, but that's just a timing issue. It'll be corrected once we issue debt. Overall, the fiscal condition is sound.
Thank you, Matt. Appreciate the presentation. It's good to know that we're sound. Council, did you have questions, comments? Matt?
I mean, anytime you're negative 32 million, you can say we're sound.
Yeah. We do
Just
that in all
an
funds.
accounting encumbrance.
Yes. Any questions? Okay.
Thanks, Matt.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Matt.
Matt.
Appreciate it. Yeah. Very good. All right. No public hearings tonight. We'll move to public comments. And members of the public are welcome to use this time to make comments about city matters or items on the agenda that are not part of the public hearing. If you wish to come forward, please limit your comments to 5 minutes or less. There is a time clock to your left. Please come forward, state your name and address for the record, and the podium is now open. No one coming forward. We will move to the consent agenda. Is there an item on the consent agenda you'd like to remove?
Item number 4, please.
Do I hear a motion for items 1, 2, 3, and 5?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Motion McNair, second Shoot. We approve consent agenda items 1, 2, 3, and 5. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Abstain? Items 1, 2, 3, and 5 pass. Consent agenda item number 4, consider authorizing the execution of a construction contract for the Lone Star Prairie Special Benefit District project.
Yeah, this is just a question regarding the lift station. So I was actually looking at these bids, and I saw that the Cohorst Enterprises bid came in over $100,000 lower on the lift station work than any other of the other bidders. And I was just wondering, Kellen, does that seem out of line? Or I know that they had some, they shifted some expenses up to the item for sanitary sewer pipe and the steel casing, but it still seems way out of whack, and I was just wondering if that, did they make assurances that they'd be able to bring the same quality of work with that kind of a difference in price?
37,000.
Yeah, 969, that 1006.
Now, if I'm looking at the second line in the second section, the wet well lift station,
So,
230,000 versus.
We're all looking at like the overall number.
No, I was looking at the line item in here that made their estimate much lower than everybody else's.
Well, we typically get sometimes wild differences in specific line items. We're not really concerned about their bid.
Yeah, it was 100,000 lower than even the engineer's estimate for the
Yeah.
lift station, so I was just wondering about that.
We also had mobilization costs that were ranging between 6,000 and 85,000. So sometimes they put their numbers in a line item that doesn't always make sense, but we don't really have any concern over their ability to
Okay.
perform.
I was just wondering because it seemed to be so far out of whack from the rest of the items, so.
I mean, it looks like it's the wet well
Yeah, it is,
that's what caused it.
correct. Okay, that's fine.
Good, all
Yeah.
right. Did you hear a motion for item number 4?
So moved.
Second.
Motion Shoot, second Deaton. We authorize the execution of a construction contract for Lone Star Prairie Special Benefit District project. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, abstained. Consent agenda item 4 passes. No planning and zoning consent, no committee recommendations. Old business. Gons. Consider a recommendation to approve a power purchase agreement, PPA extension between KMEA and Grand River Dam Authority, GRDA. This was tabled from our previous council meeting.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. During the last meeting, this item was tabled, and City Council requested to send the PowerPoint presentation. It was revised and provided to City Council. So, I don't know if you have any additional questions.
I have a question, yes. So can you, I know the recommendation was 9 from the UHC or the utility committee and from KMEA, correct?
Correct,
And
yes.
you had recommended
4.5,
4.5, correct?
yes.
Can you just elaborate a little bit more on why your opinion is that as opposed to what they went with?
So what I explained last time during the last meeting was that if you purchase the same amount of energy based on your power, which is 9 megawatts, if you buy the power on the day ahead market without a PPA, historically the day ahead price has been lower than the GRDA price.
Correct.
So based on that, I recommended doing 4.5. We'll be getting 2.4 from Unit 2 upgrade, and then any difference we can buy it from the market, in the day-ahead market. That was the reason. But
You're
the,
comfortable with the going out all the years to, as we
excuse me?
and you're comfortable, as the years progress, that we'd still be in good shape doing that program?
So in order to purchase energy from the day-ahead market, you need to have some type of capacity. So the projections I made was that there will be some positive capacity that we can purchase the energy if needed. The other thing on the revised presentation, I added a line, and it was mentioned during the KMEA presentation back in November, that SPP is trying to penalize the units that are not available. They're thinking about 10%, they call it a haircut, but it can be 20 or 30%. The actual procedure has not been approved yet. So, but they were talking an average 10%. So let's say if a unit is capable of 10 megawatts, you get a 10% D-rate, so now you're only capable of 9 megawatts. So I wanted to add that in the presentation, so to make you aware that that was presented previously.
Council, do you have questions?
So, this is one of those things like I brought up last time. We can either look really smart or really dumb. And we won't know until we get to the end of the contract. So,
Yep.
this is one of those that I think, from looking at all the data, and I had Don send me some more, if you take out the weather event that we had a couple of years ago, then the head market has been cheaper across the board since 2014. So you're essentially overpaying for a decade for assurances. You feel good that you have this extra amount. And all we really get between the 4.5 and the 9 is the extra 3 years, which by that time, hopefully we will be figuring out what else has changed in the city. And we will be negotiating another contract, which may not even be with GRDA. So I think you go with the 4.5 because there's no reason to pay extra for the potential when, you know, everybody's got their bills and we need to keep these costs down as much as possible, and these aren't small numbers, right? It's not like we're splitting hairs over a little amount and saying, oh, well, that's worth the 300 or the 3 years. It's not. So that's my opinion. You know, somebody can disagree, but I don't think we have the demand, no pun intended there, to need the 9, and the 3 years I think is negligible. So
I would agree. I don't like paying expenses out just in case. And to be honest with you, the whole energy landscape could be completely different in 10 years.
Well, it's changing at a very rapid rate.
So I would say let's make sure that we take care of our needs and forego the extra 3 years of quote unquote assurance because we don't even know what those out years are going to look like. So yeah, I'm in agreement.
Go ahead, Mark.
Did you do any sort of look at what the if we go 4.5, what the savings might be? I mean, I know it's still theoretical.
yeah, it's all theoretical. I didn't have all the numbers to be able to calculate those, but just based off that you're less per megawatt across those years, all those years. Right, you know, it's like any financial presentation, you know, past performance isn't a guarantee, you know, future. So there's no guarantee that it doesn't spike up. Right. But if it's anything like it has been, or you know, a small increase, we'll be fine. And we also have the luxury of a little bit of a reserve in our fund that we could absorb a little bit higher price if we had to, at least temporarily.
I think that, you know, the energy landscape changing almost on a daily basis, you know, being able to come back around and take another look at this you know, again at some point sooner down the road than 25 years, and also being able to deliver lower rates to our citizens and customers. I think it's very important for us to be conservative on this. And you know, if we have a spike, we have a spike. And if it's a long-term gig, we're going to have to figure out something along the way. But I tend to agree with you, Mark.
I think there's consensus to go with the 4.5. Then I'm going to entertain a motion.
So move.
Second.
Motion Baldwin, second Deaton, sorry. We adopt resolution number 2164 authorizing the execution of the Grand River Dam Authority, GRDA, power purchase agreement between the City of Gardner, Kansas and the Kansas Municipal Energy Administration for, do you want me to specify for the 4.5 megawatts? Yep. Does that complete the motion? Yep. Okay. City Clerk?
Councilmember Ween,
Yes.
Councilmember Shute,
Yes.
Councilmember McNair,
Yes.
Councilmember Baldwin,
Yes.
Councilmember Dean.
Yes.
Resolution 2164 passes.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. It's a lot to get through. All right, new business item number 1, consider adopting an ordinance amending resolution number 2140, repealing ordinance number 2799, and levying and assessing special assessments on certain lots, pieces, and parcels of land liable for such special assessments to pay the cost of certain improvements in the city, Lone Star Prairie Special Benefit District. Mr. Wolf.
The Lone Star Prairie Special Benefit District was created in 2024. The city issued general obligation temp notes to provide interim financing for the sanitary sewer improvements. The project design work is now complete. Easements have been acquired. Construction contracts have been collected. The revised total project cost is about $1.15 million. Proposed total maximum assessment, including all financing costs, is $1,335,000. The proposed ordinance amends resolution number 2140 and ordinance number 2799 to increase the maximum assessment amount and levies and assesses special assessments on certain lots, pieces, and parcels of land liable for such special assessments to pay the cost of certain improvements in the city. It is staff's recommendation that you adopt the ordinance.
All right, thank you, Matt. Is there any public comment for new business item number 1? Council, do you have any questions, comments? Do you hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion McNear, second Dean. We adopt ordinance number 2827, an ordinance amending resolution number 2140 of the City of Gardner, Kansas, amending ordinance number 2799 of the city and levying and assessing special assessments on certain lots, pieces, and parcels of land liable for such special assessments to pay the cost of certain improvements in the city Lone Star Prairie Special Benefit District. City Clerk.
Councilmember McNair,
Yes.
Councilmember Baldwin,
Yes.
Councilmember Dean,
Yes.
Councilmember Ween,
Yes.
Councilmember Shute.
Yes.
Ordinance number 2827 passes. New business item number 2, consider adopting an ordinance levying a special purpose retailer sales tax.
The governing body adopted ordinance number 2814 on October 21st, 2024, calling for a mail-in ballot election on February 11th, 2025, to renew the half-cent sales tax to be used for city infrastructure for purpose of constructing or repairing streets, curbs, sidewalks, walking, jogging, and biking trails. The Johnson County Election Office provided certified election results, which note that more than the majority of the qualified electors of the city voting at the election on the question voted in favor of the proposition. An ordinance must be adopted to levy the new tax. The tax will take effect on January 1st, 2026, or soon thereafter as permitted by law. The tax will sunset at the end of 10 years. The proposed ordinance also establishes a special sales tax fund.
Any public comment or new business item number 2? Council, do you have any questions or comments on this? All right. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion Shute, second Deaton. We adopt ordinance number 2828, levying a special purpose retailer sales tax in the amount of 0.5% within the city of Gardner, Kansas. City Clerk?
Councilmember Baldwin,
Yes.
Councilmember Dean,
Yes.
Councilmember Ween,
Yes.
Councilmember Shute,
Yes.
Councilmember McNair.
Yes.
Ordinance number 2828 passes. New business item number 3. Consider an ordinance of the City of Gardner, Kansas, amending Chapter 12.40 of the Gardner Municipal Code entitled Sidewalk Maintenance, relating to snow removal on sidewalks adjacent to certain city streets. City Administrator Prudy.
Is everybody okay with the maps in the packet, or do you want me to put this on an easel so you can see it more clearly? Or can you see that? Okay. All right, we've talked about this for a couple meetings. Our current snow ordinance is pretty consistent with other cities in the county. There are two cities, Overland Park being one, I believe the second is Lenexa, that don't require snow removal. We can all agree that the 48-hour time frame for removal and the subsequent process of making notification and giving time for abatement is ineffective. Typically, the snow is melted by the time the letters are sent, opened, and an abatement would take place. So in order to open paths for essential services such as grocery stores, pharmacies, and urgent care facilities, we identified some pedestrian snow routes. It is from 167th Street to Main on Center Street, and from Center to Moonlight on US 56. I know there'll be additional discussion on other routes, but if you look at the yellow portion of the map, those are the routes that are already clear for safe routes to school. So if you add these routes, they can typically get you to the critical businesses that we're trying to open. If we go beyond this, keep in mind that this would make us an outlier as far as how we enforce our snow ordinance. So we tried to limit it to the critical areas that we thought were important to give people that access. Staff's recommendation is to adopt ordinance 2829, amending chapter 1240 of the Gardner Municipal Code entitled Sidewalk Maintenance.
All right, thank you, Jim. Is there any public comment on this particular item? City council.
Are we gonna proactively send something out to all the property owners, or are we gonna let the first round be a learning experience?
So it requires us to make notification only the first time. So, I mean, we would obviously send letters, probably go door to door, make sure everybody's aware of it. But after the first time, after the 24-hour period, which is another portion of the amendment, is that we shorten it to 24 hours and give an additional 24 hours to abate the problem. After the first 24 hours, after the first notification, then we can go ahead and issue a citation and then abate it ourselves, or have a contractor abate it and then bill them. But there's an additional option that I want to throw out there that we talked about because of some of the difficulty in identifying who to cite and getting contractors or personnel to do it. We could go back, we could purchase a piece of equipment that Parks and Rec is interested in getting anyway with the use of alcohol tax, and go back to clearing the snow ourselves on these particular routes. We already do most of Center Street because we own the property, but we could go back, if you purchase this equipment with the alcohol tax, and go back to clearing it ourselves. And that's an option. And I asked Jason just tonight, because we just talked about that option, just clearing the north side of 56 to clear the route to pharmacy, urgent care, and groceries. If we could go ahead and just do downtown like we used to, and then extend on the north side down to those things. And he wasn't sure whether we had the capacity to do that, but we could certainly work on that. He
Do we have the
volunteered
capacity
to
to do
personally go out there himself and do it if he has to.
Do we have the capacity to do,
Yeah.
the Main Street, the priority one there, the green?
If we have that piece of equipment, we do. We really don't have anything right now to do sidewalks like that. I can't even remember what the piece of equipment's called, but it's multi-use. There's different attachments. We could do stump removal, we could do ditch clearing, we could do a number of different functions in Parks and Rec and Public Works with this piece of equipment in addition to snow removal.
How are we clearing our sidewalks and trails now without that piece of equipment?
Well, trails are different, but yeah, the sidewalk,
A lot of our trails are.
Since the trails are all mostly 10 foot, we put the larger pieces of equipment on that are cabin and that we drive. With this different sizes of sidewalks in the city, I mean, you're looking at 3 foot, 4 foot, 5 foot. The piece of equipment we're looking at is called a dingo. It's kind of a walk behind, and it's got multiple attachments to do tree removal, stump grinding, other things that we could utilize between Public Works and Parks, as well as be able to utilize clearing the sidewalks.
Two questions for you,
So-
Steve. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
First one, do we have the funds available to do this?
Alcohol tax.
The equipment, we have the alcohol tax, yeah.
And I just want to make sure that nothing, the alcohol tax fund didn't run short. The other thing is, from your perspective, what's the easiest way to administrate this whole
For us to
situation?
do it ourselves.
Okay.
And I guess I'm thinking too that might be a better, because even some of the things that we've seen have been, it was cleared, and then we came back through and plowed, and then it was
Wasn't
just
cleared.
Yeah, well, the ramps and everything else made it more difficult for people to get around.
Right, and 56 is a special case because the state clears them. And they're technically supposed to clear the ramps, but they don't.
They don't.
They don't ever come back and do that.
They actually make the ramps worse.
Yeah.
Jim, is there any liability as we go along each business there?
I
Right.
think that's the reason why we stopped doing it in the first place, was the liability concern.
Ryan?
Working on your
Yeah,
City-
the liability for cleaning the sidewalks?
Liability for cleaning.
The sidewalks.
If we push all the snow along,
The sidewalks that aren't city property, but in front of other businesses where we have already put that's their sidewalk they're liable for. If we then take over the snow removal, do we become liable?
So there's a specific exception of Kansas Tort Claims Act associated with accumulation of snow and ice on city property, city right of way, so we have immunity in the Tort Claims Act.
And that would even be,
For anything in the right of way, so sidewalks are in the right of way.
okay.
So Casey, you brought up us not being in the business of clearing snow.
I don't.
And I'm not against the dingo, but I don't think this should be the straw that makes it worth buying the dingo. And I feel like we went back and forth. We did this for them, and it was, hey, we decided that was a bad precedent to have put in place. And if we go back again, one, we're going to mess everybody up, and two, as the city grows, then you're going to have, oh, are we doing it over there too and over there too? So I would say for now, no, and we leave it as is.
We're relitigating this from 2 years ago. We had the
Essentially.
exact same discussion.
And we can always be, helpful and help and go clean up some ramps if we see them or whatever else as Jason's driving around in his truck. But I don't think we want to go backwards.
The only exception I see would be the ramps, because the ramps are our responsibility.
No.
But
They're not.
they're not our responsibility, even the ones at the corners.
Nope.
Okay.
Adjacent property owner.
except for the ones that,
The ADA ramps.
well,
No.
the cornerstone part, I mean, the ones at the park.
Unless it's city.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if it's
City
city,
property,
yeah,
yeah.
city
Adjacent
owned,
owner is
obviously.
the city that is.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the thing that we talked about is that with the big snow that we got, Main Street was, nobody paid any attention.
Was
Those
Passable.
businesses didn't do anything.
It was impassable.
Yeah, and the problem that we see is that in its application is that, you go to a business, the business owner is probably not gonna be there. So you could have, somebody that's just some random employee, and are we gonna cite them and hold them responsible? And those are the issues that we see as being problematic. But again, we could do this for a year, and if, come back in a year, and if it's not working or it's not working well, we can.
My concerns are, okay, so, right now, 56 Highway gets us to all the grocery stores and the pharmacies. Happens if a grocery store goes in by the old airport. Not saying that there's plans for that, but if they're, like, where does it stop?
Yeah.
As we grow, and then it turns into, to get paths to all the different businesses, we're developing on the south end, we're developing all over. Where does it stop?
I guess I see, I mean, there's a lot of what ifs that we can say. I don't have an issue with what we proposed outside of the city taking on the snow removal. Maybe what we need to do is look at the purchase of that piece of equipment, and if other uses of it could justify that purchase, then propose it, and let's go down that route.
I think I would like to see us maybe table this for a month or two, just to make the, give Public Works a chance to come back to us with a price and justification for the purchase of equipment, so we can make a better decision.
I think we could decide on this ordinance now. And if Public Works ends up with this piece of equipment, we could always revisit, next season essentially.
Well,
And say
before next season.
Before, but we have this new piece of equipment, do we want to do that?
And this new piece of equipment, if we need it, like Mark said, this shouldn't be the straw that makes this purchase necessary. If the purchase is necessary and we have the alcohol tax to fund it, this ordinance, who cares? But what if that made it the ability that we go to a business that isn't clearing the snow, and instead of waiting for a contractor to be free, we're able to do it and then charge the business owner for our staff's time.
I would be in
using
agreement with
piece
that.
Of
Yeah.
equipment. That way, it's not
It's more efficient. Yeah.
and the business is still responsible for it. We are just simply, kind of like if somebody doesn't mow their grass for a month and we go cite them, we can go mow it and then charge them for it. If we had this piece of equipment, maybe we have the ability to do that.
And some of our concerns with enforcement may be addressed with the chamber, and the mayor and I met with Beth, the new chamber president, and talked about putting together a downtown council and getting those names and those contacts, and maybe creating an entity that can contract for snow removal as a single group.
We
So-
talked about that 2
About
years
doing
ago
that.
too. Exactly.
Yeah.
So I don't think that this ordinance should change whether or not we need that piece of equipment.
Correct.
I'm okay with the change of how it's written here. I don't necessarily want the city to take on being in the business of snow removal quite yet, but I do think if we have that equipment and we're able to take care of that while finding the businesses or making sure that the businesses are still responsible for it, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, also the situation, like for example, if we have a really bad snowfall and that contractor gets swamped because they are getting requests from all over the place, from private residences or private businesses, now we have the ability to self-perform, and that's going to be important, especially if we do have that growth you're talking about. And we can still charge, we can still cite, but that issue of not being able to get, have walkability is removed.
Right, and this ordinance doesn't have to change. for that,
Exactly.
even
Doesn't
if
have to
we get
change
the
it.
piece of equipment.
Correct. So,
And I would like to, go with this, make sure we are very transparent and open and contact these businesses maybe several times, like
Sure.
once fairly soon and then later in the year and then definitely,
we're
before winter hits.
still in winter season, yeah, so.
Yeah, and because like some of these are like
It might.
corporate, so I mean.
Yeah, we can contact the actual owner. We can send letters to the property owner that we can identify through Ames. There's a number of different ways we can do communication.
Wait till May, have a town hall, let us know.
Yeah.
And the minute we buy this piece of equipment, we're never gonna use it for snow.
Oh, stop it. Yeah, that's why you buy a snow blower, you don't need it for 2 years, exactly.
Oh, I went a whole year with a brand new snowblower.
Okay. All right, so,
I'm okay with the ordinance as it's written,
Okay.
so.
is there a motion then for ordinance 282?
So moved.
Second.
Motion shoot. Second, Deaton. We adopt ordinance number 2829, an ordinance amending chapter 12.40 of the Gardner Municipal Code entitled Sidewalk Maintenance.
Councilmember Deaton.
Yes.
Councilmember Wade.
Yes.
Councilmember Shute.
Yes.
Councilmember Rainier.
Yes.
Councilmember Welch.
Yes.
Ordinance number 2829 passes. New business item number 4, consider a recommendation to purchase a control room enclosure for Substation 4 CIP project EL 4005.
Good evening. In due to the long lead time of electrical equipment, our consultant, Olson, and city staff began the procurement process for Substation 4 in 2024. Today, the city council has approved the purchase of one transformer, a 161 kV circuit breaker, and tonight I bring the control room and enclosure for Substation 4. The control room enclosure includes the panels, relay protection, batteries for the operation and protection of the electrical equipment. We received 4 bids, and the bids were reviewed by Olson, and they recommended EP2 Trachet because they had the lowest bid, the shortest lead time, a more restrictive bill of materials, and we have purchased a enclosure for Substation 3 in 2004. So we're familiar with the equipment. So we're recommending EP2 Trachet for the purchase of the control room enclosure.
I take it, Guns. Is there any public comment? Business item number 4. Council, you have questions?
$500,000 for a room, let's do it.
I mean, you can tell .8 Power's busy with work.
Yeah, right. You did.
All right.
Supply business. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion McNair, second Baldwin. We authorize the city administrator to execute a contract with EP2. How do you pronounce it? Tracti. In the amount of $551,215, including Kansas taxes, for the purchase of Substation 4 control room enclosure. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Abstained? New business item number 4 passes.
Thank you.
All right, we move to council updates. Chief, start with you.
We have a lateral officer starting on March 24th, which brings us, I think we have 2 vacancies after that. We're in the final stages with the senior commander hiring. And we are also moving towards a program that will help us be able to sell animal licenses online, which will then allow us to do the incentives for microchipping. But so far, the animal services organization that we're working with is going well.
Awesome. City clerk? Matt, finance? Any turn? Gons? Jason?
I don't have anything tonight.
Yeah, right. Dave?
Nothing for me tonight.
Kellen, Public Works?
Nothing tonight?
Jim?
So the lake property we have surveyed that we intended to sell. We did a amended policy in 2019 that allows me to sell lots at the lake. So that's my intent. I just wanted to see if anybody had any feedback. The goal is to meet the threshold for our contribution to the spillway. So I'm planning on moving forward and trying to get that done.
Good.
So we have to post it, I believe the legal record for 2 consecutive weeks. So we'll do that starting next week. And I'll keep everybody updated on how we're doing. We are serving lunch tomorrow, so it'll be a fun-filled day.
All right. Councilman Chu?
A couple of things. You mentioned tomorrow's retreat. It is open to the public if folks want to come out. Is that correct? Just making sure here. There was a yes. Yes. Gardner Justice Center. So it'll be from 11 to 2 tomorrow, and you'll get to hear some of the planning, long-range goals and dreams that the council and staff have for the community. So please feel free to come out if you can, at least for a portion of that. The other thing is I wanted to commend the folks who were in, I didn't get a chance to do this last time because I was getting surgery. We did pass the ordinance to get the sales tax put into place. It was a 2-to-1 margin on the election, so that was really, really good. I don't know if anybody mentioned that last time's council updates, but I wanted to thank the citizenry for allowing us to be able to utilize the uptick in taxes, sales taxes that we're getting from folks outside of this area to be able to take care of our roads. I was in the Culver's parking lot yesterday. I'm trying to lose weight, but it's tough when you see Culver's on the side of the road there. But I was flabbergasted at the number of out-of-state license plates I saw in that parking lot. Folks from Oklahoma, folks from as far away as Utah, who were parked in that parking lot, and that tells me everything I need to know about. Hey, this is a big deal for us to be able to offload the cost of those roads off to folks that otherwise would not be on the hook for it. So I want to thank the folks in the community for supporting that. That's
Councilman McNear?
Yeah, just a couple of things. First off, I want to thank Matt for the excellent job of summing up the 2024 budget. Thank you, Matt. Did a great job. Second, at the meet and greet for the Chamber of Commerce this evening, had one citizen, actually two, mentioned things that they wanted to see happen with City Council. And I said, guys, we don't get to hear what you want to talk about unless you show up to the meeting and voice your concerns at the beginning of the meeting with public comment. So I encourage them to do that, and I encourage all citizens, if you have something you want to bring up before council and staff, this is your opportunity to do so. I'd sure like for you to have the opportunity to do that. That's all.
I recognize the scout that's out there in our audience right now.
Yes, sir.
Thanks for coming out.
Earning a badge?
Citizenship in the community.
There it is.
Yeah, there it is.
All right. You can come on up and speak if you'd like.
You're limited to 20 minutes. Welcome. Councilman Weed?
Nothing for me tonight.
Nothing tonight.
Jim, when we sell that property, we fix the spillway,
$1.
then the next time we meet with the Lake Association, please inform them that it's the last gift they will be getting.
Well,
Because
everybody got the okay.
that's money we could have been spending here.
That wasn't the
Okay.
Yeah.
Anything else?
No, I'm going to end on that.
Okay. And I have nothing further, so. Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Somebody and somebody.
Renee will
everybody.
figure it out. I'll listen to it.
All right, sorry.
We'll just all be surprised.
I'll give it. I'll give it to. Thank you.